Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you all can hear us. If you can just put a thumbs up.
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. So this is a continuation of our Pride Month celebration. So we call this No Filter Coffee Conversation. Uh, Reasons being, while we've gone through some series of sensitization, exposure, and all of that in the last couple of weeks, uh, but most of us were brought up in a society where we know genders or stories of genders as either boy or girl or man or woman, right? Nothing beyond that is our exposure, hardly into anything, right? So the reason why we're calling it a no filter conversation is because we have two amazing speakers externally who's joined us, who will be sharing their life stories. So one is Dr. Anita Prasad and Nikhil Aaron Vivero. Okay, so both of them are very special and dear to me in many ways. I mean, Dr. Anita is somebody that I've worked professionally with, and she's doing some amazing work in the space of inclusion and LGBTQI inclusion. And especially talking about Nikki is something that I'm very excited about. Nikki is somebody that I know from a very young age when he was about 4 or 5 years old. Now Nikki is about 22. So I used to basically carry Nikki on my shoulders, and his sister, sorry, I keep, for my apologies, it's a very sensitive thing, but uh, his sister and me studied together. And recently I happened to connect with her after many years. And that's when I heard the story about Nikki, and I thought it is important to have two different dimensions of somebody who came out at the age of 45. So Dr. Anita came out at the age of 45 and transitioned into a woman. And so is Nikki very recently. So we're going to sort of deep dive into their real life stories, what are the challenges, what it is for them to exist as a trans person in the community, which ideally should be mainstream, which is not. And this is all the efforts that we are trying to bring together. So we'll sort of deep dive into it. But before that, I'll probably let Anita and Nikki take about a minute or two to really introduce themselves and tell us who they really are very quickly before we start the conversation.
Hi, this is Dr. Anita Prasad. Quickly, in a minute or two, I will summarize. As you rightly wanted, Roy, I'm born and brought up in Bangalore, a proper Bangalorean, worked all through in India and moved to Germany for work related. I lived in Germany for 23 years and now I'm back. Back with a new identity. India, when I left India, I was known as Srinivas. Now I'm Anita. So that's the only difference. A challenging life, a brand new life. The kind of life that I led, owning massive luxurious cars and airplane and so on. I'm also a pilot, by the way, and a business personality, having studied globally, got my PhD in California. So there is a very different vibe that I come with. And now I'm looking forward to bring a lot of changes and engage with people and bring the real difference to the minority community in society today. So that's all about me. A short introduction. I'll pass it over to you.
Hi, my name is Nikhil Aaron Vivero. I'm 22 years old. I just graduated with a triple degree in Western classical music, psychology, and English. And the things I'm really into right now, or passionate about, are reading, playing my instruments, singing, baking, and cooking a little bit, and most importantly, rescuing and fostering stray animals. That's what it is.
Great. I think both of you have some very unique and really amazing personalities and life story and production and all of that, right? Now that Dr. Anita, you also mentioned that you've done so much, and then it took you like 45 years to be able to identify who you are. So what we like to know is what are the common indicators that might suggest that someone identifies as a transgender? And what were some of those pivotal moments that led you to understand and embrace your gender? I think we'll go with both of you on this question. Maybe we'll start with you. Quickly, if you can just tell us where did it all start?
Just to ease Nick, because this is his first ever session. So
oh yeah, by the way, it is Nikki's first ever panel discussion. So I'm really excited for Nikki. So yeah.
So to give the information, see, let's say, for example, we take the case of Nick, possibly. I'm going to take your answer away, probably, I'm not sure. But what I can say is it's a gender crisis, what arises. You may not figure out a gender dysphoria at that particular point of time. So you feel like, I'm not this person, I'm somebody else. So this kind of a surge, the upsurge of energy do come in, and then, they vanish and fade back and forth. But in some places, they continue to stay. And that's where the discomfortness comes in, the mind and the body non-coherence. And because of that, a person comes out of the closet and says that, yes, I'm like this. But in my case, I was pushing up till 45th year. And at the 45th year, it said, hello, liver of Srinivas Prasad is eaten away. So then I had to unconditionally go consult a psychiatrist because I was admitted to hospital for a couple of years. And nobody could figure out why this is happening. Why is this attack happening? Because the gender dysphoria climbs up. It can be lethal to one. It gets into the organs directly. It starts to attack because you have been programmed by birth in a different direction. So when you're programmed in a different way, it attacks you completely in a different direction. So it compels you in a format where you need to shift one life to the other life if you have to live. If you don't want to live, well, leave it. It will take care of its own. So this is just a short information of what gender dysphoria is and why people change from one to the other shoes. And let's hear Nick. I'll pass it over to you.
So, in my opinion, transness is super vast and diverse, and there's no particular way or certain symptoms per se to know that you're trans. You cannot pathologize transness because it isn't a mental illness to begin with. And you can never truly know if a person is trans or not, because at the end of the day, it could be stealth, and you could have interacted with a trans person even today, and you would never know. So, one thing, if you are curious about a person's gender identity, or if they look like they deviate from a certain norm, you can politely ask them. Like, staring wouldn't do anything. Just politely ask them their name and their pronouns. In my opinion, I've gone through series of gender euphoria and dysphoria. Gender euphoria is the joy in how your gender is presented and perceived, while gender dysphoria is the distress or discomfort that occurs in people whose gender identity differs from their one assigned identity. So, as a child, I would essentially love taking on the male characters while playing any sort of game. And I thought that if I copied my brothers enough, I would look like them. So yeah, I I thought that, if I did copy them, I would find a sense of euphoria, which I did not, because at the end of the day, I am a signed female at birth, and it didn't really change who I really was on the inside. I was still female, and I was perceived as that for a long time. Up until puberty, I was pretty much allowed to wear anything I want, to do anything I want. But it drastically changed when puberty hit, and that's when the gender dysphoria became way, way worse than it should have. And yeah, I did not, in my head, I thought every single person assigned female at birth wanted to not be female. I thought that was normal. But then talking to other human beings and discovering that there's a huge community of us out there has definitely changed my perspective on that. Yeah, I played around with labels initially. I came out as non-binary, then I came out as queer. And then at the end of the day, I was hiding who I really was on the inside. I knew I was a trans man, but it's a scary label to adhere because you're going against so many cis-normative systems. And since I was going against that, it was scary to adopt a particular label and even start medically transitioning. So yeah, now trans man, that's who I am at this point. And I'm very comfortable with expressing myself in a way that isn't particularly masculine or feminine. I'm just existing outside of the binary with my expression. Yeah.
Brilliant. I mean, that's really interesting, Nick. But I think families and close friends, they play a big role, right? And for both of you, how has your family and close friends reacted? And has their responses and interactions and reactions, has it evolved over a period of time?
Let me take this first. family and friends as it comes, it's always a difficult story because you might have seen Nick. You always address it, Nick as her, and then it
I
doesn't
still
go away.
get confused even now. I mean, I made that
Exactly.
mistake
So-
so many times.
Exactly. Because
Subconsciously.
it doesn't go away from you. So friends are in a position where they expect the same. They say that hey, where are you? They look at you in the same manner. In fact, my kind of presentation or whatever, the voice or nothing has changed. I don't have to necessarily because if someone is imitating something else or trying to bring a norm to that kind of change, that is not something what is natural. What is natural that lives, but the acceptance when it comes to, so it's a very big challenge because uh, the amount of awareness the particular family or the friend circle has, that makes a lot of sense because that is what will be a savior. Either you take a good relationship forward, I mean, meaning your friends or even your relatives or your own spouse or whatever it is. If not, it's the end. So in my case, none has been, a true case because the whole, my graduation and studies and so on, I only have about 5 friends left, and out of which 2 of them have joined my Anita Humanitarian Foundation because they really stood with it. The other 3 are silent watchers, but they admire me for everything, whatever I'm doing. As far as my relatives and family comes into, yeah, my spouse threw me out of the home completely, done. Uh, my daughter threw me out of the home. She did not like it. She's 18 years, by the way. And my parents, they said no go. They're not happy. In-laws, for sure, no. So because I felt this is something what requires the kind of awareness they themselves don't know what's actually happening or transitioning to me. I can't go and tell them this is how you need to be because there are certain relationships, there are certain areas where we respect, and everyone have their own freedom to live and respect with. So likewise, we also consider this should be the birthright, hak hai. So we stick to that, and we continue further. So I'll ask over to Nick. Let's see it.
I think I come from a generation that's pretty well aware of anything LGBTQ and just social issues as a whole. So I'm pretty privileged to be able to have friends who are extremely accepting and supportive. Throughout my transition, be it social or medical, they've always been incredibly kind and generous towards me. And they haven't disrespected me or treated me differently. I'm just the same human being, but different perspective, I guess. Yeah, so when it comes to my family, initially that there was they had a very distasteful sort of reaction to it. I come from a very Orthodox Catholic family, and yeah, asserting my gender that did not work solely because of the fact that their ideas of gender were very regressive and old-fashioned, essentially, right? So I had to substantiate my existence with scientific literature. Like I had to show them articles and be like, see, this is not something that only I'm going through. Everyone all around the world does have different experiences, but we have a community out there, and that's good. So I had to compile a bunch of articles and research and sit down with them and patiently explain to them. And there was this particular point initially in my transition where they thought that if they put me in dresses and like heels and makeup, it would instantly change everything. It would just melt away my gender dysphoria. It just became worse. There were also times in my life where I wasn't allowed to cut my hair. If I would cut my hair at home regardless, and they wouldn't speak to me for days. So it took actively educating myself on who I am, and most importantly, destigmatizing what it means to be trans in my family. Because to be very frank, the portrayal of trans people in media is horrific, to say the least. Like mainstream media, it's usually negative stereotypes that are passed on, right? And yeah, so I pretty much did that, and through patience and support, and through patience, essentially, I was able to get through to my sisters, and they're incredibly supportive because they do sort of they do definitely support my HRT and my education and everything because they could physically see my mental health depleting. I was incredibly depressed and I had suicidal ideation and I was not able to function as a human being the longest of times because I wasn't authentic to myself. I was uncomfortable, right? And they could see that. And that's why they put in the effort, because out of love that they were like, okay, let's listen to what he has to say. And they listened to me. And that's how here I am today. But my parents aren't accepting those. So yeah, that's very.
Yeah, I mean, I do know a thing or two about your family. I've been to your house many times for dinner and lunch and all that. But so do I come from a very Orthodox Catholic family, and I do understand the kind of stigma religiously when it comes to. But again, coming to you again, Nikki, all of us here transition. Right? Anybody who is going through LinkedIn and reading through articles today, you'll all see transition, right? So, what does it really take? What are some of the challenges, and how does it vary when it comes to your age? I mean, Anita, I'll come to you later about this question, but Nikki, from your point of view, how do you sort of see this, or probably help us understand why not from.
Transition isn't linear. It happens throughout one's entire life, be it transless or like even people who are cisgender, they go through so many transitions in their life. Ours is just stigmatized usually, but essentially being taken seriously is a bit of a problem when you're assigned female at birth and it's sort of normalized, right, for like a person assigned female at birth to dress masculinely, but they will not be seen as a man at the end of the day. That's how our patriarchal society works, right? I have to doubly prove myself to be man enough to people, but that's just how it is. It's not being taken seriously, and yeah, I'm relatively new to transitioning and presenting as male. I have to learn different social behaviors. I'm socialized as a female, so I have to essentially learn behavior patterns and thought processes to try and fit in. I try my best to fit in, but yeah, that's about it. Transitioning, we aren't monoliths. Everyone's different when it comes to their transition, and everyone is at different eras of their transition. I'm very early on into my transition. I've only been 2 years into taking testosterone. So yeah, that's about it. But acceptance as a whole is important when it comes to in sort of assimilating to society and looking at us as just regular human beings who are trying to figure out who we are just alongside you. We're also trying to figure out life and get through it. Just like every single person out there, we are no different than you. We have way more similarities than you possibly think if you aren't close-minded and want to have a conversation about it. Yeah, also the legalities of gender change is a very, very lengthy process, and to say the least, getting your TG card and then also getting your, even when it comes to medically transitioning, you have to get like a gender dysphoria certificate. It's way too institutionalized than it should be, but it's incredibly uncomfortable to go through a lengthy process of getting your name and gender changed as a whole, and it's also expensive to some extent and takes a lot of time and effort.
But is it, do you think it's really necessary to be, for these processes to be so stringent? Is it really necessary? I mean, does it take so many questions to be asked, to be forms to
Ideally, it should not be, because at the end of the day,
Roy, you need to be a little louder. We lose you in between. I think.
hear us?
Okay.
Should be
Yeah.
louder.
Can you repeat the question?
What did I ask? No, I was basically asking the whole transition process when it comes to the paperwork and all of that. Should that really be that difficult? Is it really necessary for it to be so stringent from Nikki's perspective?
we
You
should
need to speak a little louder so
Yeah.
that we can.
Louder, little closer.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
closer together.
Right. So ideally, it should not be this kept as a whole. But even on a daily basis, I'm not referred to as my dead name or legal name. I just go by life with with my nickname, and people just know me as me. Since I pass pretty well as well. It comes from a place of privilege, passing pretty well to some extent. But yeah, it should not be so sort of policed in a way, because it's unnecessary. Because if you look at a lot of name changes that cisgender people can do it at like any office, at like any government office or a court pretty quickly, but we have to go like through an entire process of asserting our identity, going and filling gazillion affidavits, and then finally, maybe after 1.5 years to 2 years, you will legally be seen as who you really are. So it's unnecessarily sort of gate kept. But yeah.
Very interesting to know that perspective. But again, Dr. Anita, coming to you, you're someone who transitioned at a very later stage, right? So how has that journey been, and would it have been different if you had done this earlier?
I don't regret because see, I myself didn't know that this dysphoria did exist in my genes, so, or it could be any other factor. I have no idea. When that happens, you have to undergo the kind of changes that is necessary. It could be like, for example, when I transitioned, I did not, I want to tell you that I did not sell my identity to a foreign country. Even though I lived, I was qualified enough. I filled in the social security, I filled in taxes, I filled in everything. I could have gotten their citizenship just like that. But I do have a lifetime validity, residence permit whenever I want to go there. But it was not necessary from my perspective that I sell my Indian citizenship for a trade-off with German citizenship. So I didn't want to do it. And even though the same thing applies in America as well. So I continued to stay, and I had to, when I wanted to change my identity, I changed it with Indian national regulations. And so it was first connected with a affidavit, you rightly said, and then some other documentation. However, duly filled with couple of psychiatrists in German origin, newspaper advertisements in Germany as well as in India. So it's like a foolproof mechanism. And then applying for a TG card, which anyone has to do. But many don't do it because they don't want to register themselves as so and so, which is fine. We respect that also, because if they don't do it, the same-sex marriage issue, what is going on in the Supreme Court of India, will continue to do so, because nobody wants to identify themselves, nobody wants to come out of this, and nobody wants to express that. But still, they want to have the same-sex marriage and kids and all those, which is pretty unreasonable, unfortunately. So we are still in the evolving process. As you have seen, 2019 is when India opened its door. So just after that, we saw pandemic. People went upside down, and soon after pandemic, people like us, we enter and then we try to bring some awareness and change and all those things. So this is what is happening. No matter what we need to work, I think it will take some more time before it actually stabilizes. It gets into some sort of a mechanism where the mainstream, like the Westerners, we also welcome. We also hold the rainbow flags, and fearlessly everyone comes and says, I'm an ally. And that's what I was trying to say in the morning meeting. If I could buy some kilos of allyships somewhere, that would have been great. We could have gotten some donations and purchased, or some femininity from Nick, and then I could give some masculinity to Nick. So that could have been the wonderful topic. But unfortunately, we have to go through that kind of trial. That's where we are.
So could you, Dr. Anita, could you tell us a little about medical procedures and hormone therapy that you work with? What are the kind of challenges? Or generally, as a trans person going through transition, what really goes through when, on the medical side of things?
Yeah, I understand. So medical procedures. So in Germany, it is a little bit stringent. In India, it is, yeah, I don't want to talk about it. So people can buy it for 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, unfortunately. So it depends on the doctor. I don't want to really mention, but there's no fixed procedure, even though the government has come with that kind of rules and regulations. Doctors don't want to come out in India to say, I am handling or capable of holding the transgender identities as my patients here openly. They do not put it up in any of these clinics. Nowhere in the mainstream, the biggest hospitals, they will not come out. And if at all, someone is doing a surgery, a urologist, he doesn't want to put in as I'm a transgender specialist. So this is a very bad part of it, including the endocrinology doctor or a psychiatrist. So keeping all these things in the mind, it requires some sort of procedures to be set in. Unfortunately, I also want to tell you that, the NIMHANS, which is the National Mental Health Institute of India, does not have one single qualified doctor on transgender. This is terrible. And the AIMS has the first doctor qualified today, and that too only this year they have got for the transgender medicine. This is a shame for India, and this is where we are sitting. And even after so many years, the institutions and the education initiatives are coming to that kind of an angle where we are trying to, shout. We are trying to say, please educate. But everybody thinks that okay, just after pandemic, hey, 2019, did any judgment even come? So nobody bothers. So everything is the same. For them, hey, drag these people out, they look strange, throw them in another cabin. So this is how it is. So when we are trying to look at all these things, it takes a lot of effort. But other side, I can say is Germany, you have to go through a DNA analysis, which is also a procedure in India. Second is you need to do an MRI of your brain just in order to understand whether you are male, female, any sort of assessments, which probably doesn't happen because MRI is very expensive. People don't go into this kind of initiative. They need about at least 48 hours of psychiatrist analysis in India to identify, to figure out. That happens in Germany, by the way. But in India, psychiatrists can give you the letter in 1 or 2 sittings. This is it. And after this, the endocrine is going to decide what is it in your blood and say, this medicine probably works. I will give you a certain amount of dose. On a thumb rule basis, goodbye. So whether you are prone to cancer, you are prone to any other disease, you are prone to any other activities, that's a question. But certain good endocrinologists, they increase the dosage step by step. They don't just like that jump. They tell these people, look, the transition takes time. You need to have patience. And when you have patience, the results can be better. So they say between 3 to 5 years or 10 years, don't do any surgery. And trust me, the same rule applied to me also in Germany. And I did not do any surgery. Everything changed automatically. Done. So I didn't have to do anything. And I'm absolutely fine today.
I mean, it's really sad, like you mentioned, medical systems are not so advanced, so probably we don't have the kind of systems in place to make it. Pretty sure, we're getting there with the amount of awareness that people like you are building and like us are working in this space. It will get there at some point, is our hope. But again, coming to you, like talking about misconceptions about transition, right? What do you think more people who are not from the trans community understood better? Or, probably for all of us in the room, what is that we could have understood better and how do you?
Okay, so when it comes to when it comes to trans people in itself, we talk about our own misconceptions. I thought, like, if you look at it, I thought that transitioning would fix every single thing in my life. That's a misconception. It did not. I still have to go through life as a whole, and I also have to understand that I have that mental clarity and that peace and the stability to work on myself. But when it comes to when it comes to like cisgender people, one of the biggest misconceptions would be that we have to. I don't really like this, but it's based on trans medicalism. We have to have gender dysphoria to be trans. That's not necessarily true. You could have euphoria as well. Everyone's life experiences vary, right? And there could also be like the misconception that we're somehow deviant just because we look different. And everyone just makes a lot of judgments based on the exterior of a person. And many times people can make us really uncomfortable by just staring. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The misconception being that, we aren't human enough to warrant the bare minimum of respect and dignity, right? That's a big misconception. Just because I'm trans doesn't mean I'm lesser than or greater than you. I'm just a human being as well. And there's also the aspect of not exactly there is also the aspect of like not including us in certain spaces and just is estimating that we are not good enough as a whole just because we're trans. Just making very superficial or material judgments is one of the big misconceptions these people might have.
A lot for us to understand as well, right, along with you all. Coming to some of your little personal questions, what aspirations do you have in the future? And, at least at this point, working with.
Yeah, I mean, see, community is not known. Number one aspiration is I want, see, I've been close to a billionaire. I don't care. And I've seen a different life. And I have been through that kind of elite clubs and a different lifestyle, as I said. To me, it is very important that I want to build few more billionaires in India, which lacks. India is growing with billionaires, but there are not enough businesses that can actually come up in that particular space, and especially owned by the minority community. Not even just focus about the LGBT alone. You look at the other diversities that are existent in the market, and many are capable of doing it. And we as a society, we have always seen them in a different light. I think this is one of the biggest initiative, and at least I would like to see from my company minimum of 300 patents to be done with all these people. And that is a big target. And I've collaborated with Israel government. I've collaborated with the German government and many people. So the first one is going in October this year to Israel. So I have collaborated with Rotary for doing this. So this is going to be a diversity character, and going there, trying to do PhD. And my deal with them is throw this guy back to India, don't give him job. So this is very important because we need those people come back to India and start working to build a productive economy. So this is the kind of deal. Yeah, I mean, we also welcome. I mean, our Prime Minister also. I met with many people in the flight. When I travel, I come across with many people. So the many students are coming from abroad to study in India. They're getting PhD scholarship. I said, wow, this is also happening. This is great, but can we do also the other way around? How do we increase this? And why are we not able to build the patents? Why are we not able to build that kind of a mechanism here? So this is a very important subject. And Anita Humanitarian Foundation is committed to bring more service-oriented tasks to enable and show the world. I'm going to post at least some 5 to 10 lighthouse projects in Anita Humanitarian Foundation just in order to prove this whole thing is possible, even. So once I try to do it, then possibly I will fund these people completely away from my, foundation, so that they become independent, they stand independent without any venture capitalist or, this kind of a drive, that they are mentally free and they are more productive, and we can stand to monitor to change this economy. I think this is a very important aspect of becoming a social responsibility or a social environment, that we stand together on this kind of a drive than we defocusing ourselves. So this is just a small tip of him.
Absolutely. And I think it's right what you said, because even when we look at, since at foundation, we are focused on skilling people from marginalized groups, especially when I try to interact with organizations who work in this space, there are hardly any transgenders who come from that strong education background. If they're already placed. They already have a job.
Exactly.
But the larger part of the community don't have the kind of formative education, and which is where we also struggle to find it. So I think our future is looking bright with organizations like you, people like you working in this space. But Nikki, what are your aspirations coming out as a youngster and as a proud transplant? What are your? I'm sure a lot of your dreams have changed from what it was 5, 6, 8 years back to now. What are your aspirations?
As of now, I'm going back to college to pursue my Masters of Psychology in Montfort. And after I've completed that, my 5-year long-term plan is to essentially save enough, go abroad to the University of Leeds in the UK and complete my applied music psychology degree. And once I'm a specialized music therapist, I want to be able to come back here and provide therapy, like pro bono therapy to trans people. And especially with the artistic aspect, we have so many talented folk in our community who aren't necessarily given the space to be able to express their musicianship. I would like to maybe make a choir, just trans people, like everyone, just a choir or a sort of band that connects us as a whole, like a collective. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So another personal question to both of you. What does being your authentic self mean to you? How has it changed your life?
No problem. I'll take the lead. Step four. Authentic self is nothing but you have to conquer your intuition. So I'm a big listener of intuition when it comes to it because it has saved my life. And definitely the intuitional wisdom is something which is far beyond. So this gives you one level of connectivity because to get the intuition that you want to, it's very important for us to shut down listening to people, listening to anything or any thoughts that are coming in. So it's a little bit tough task, but if we try to achieve it, you are in your own true self that you can cleanse any sort of infection in a minute.
What about you, Nitin?
In my opinion, being authentic to yourself is just putting yourself out there and being your unabashed, existing unabashedly, essentially. There is no particular way of authenticity for a person. Authenticity it does transcend gender, right, as a whole. So I would say putting yourself out there and finding people who are similar to you does affirm that you are being authentic to yourself. And yeah.
Years back, just for fun. All are serious, that's why I'm just saying. So we call it as all are equal, but in most of the MNCs, the recruitment as well as promotion priority goes to LGBTQ plus, then the diversity, then the men. Men comes on the third. So we also should fight for the equal rights, just for fun. I'm saying.
I forgot to add justice.
Yeah, if you go by the list, we'll have a long day. Yeah, thanks for bringing the humor in. But again, I think we have about another 10-15 minutes, and probably I'll open up for the rest of them to ask questions to you as well. So there's a lot of curiosity. But, how do you all think that we all can be better allies in your journey? Anybody who is not a trans person, so all of us as allies, how can we help you make your journey better?
So I feel like since the internet is free, educating yourself will be important. It's not something that you should do, but it kind of shows your curiosity and learning and interest in other people's experiences, educating yourself. You should not expect every single trans person to be an advocate, because not every single one of us can be an advocate. That's completely fine as well. So educating yourself, and also it would be important if someone came up to you and told you about them being trans, keeping that confidentiality is pretty important. Not going about sharing that they're trans to everyone else. That's pretty important too. And essentially, if you do want to, essentially, when someone comes out to you, giving them that space or listening to a person while they come out to you is pretty important as well. And at the end of the day, looking at every trans person as a human being, first off, is pretty important to be an ally. And yeah, that's all I can think.
I think, see, it's very important to understand that allyship. Allyship, as I rightly said, we could have purchased it like a prepaid cards. Unfortunately, we can't. It's very important that we need to build those humans who basically understands, because I've heard many people, even I try to engage with the Indian religious wonderful minds, and those religious and the spiritual minds who are billionaires already. So basically they said, listen, why should I even recognize you to this level? Why do you need this priority in your identity? Yeah, because the priority is in identity is essential. The reason is, this identity itself is struggling. It requires to come out. Others don't know. Others don't know what transition that the whole life takes place. Others don't know what sort of an life the future has. A third one is, where is the employment? The fourth one is, where is this total community? How is the inclusive society that we are speaking, that we do exist? Because to us today it is non-existent. It's nothing. Today absolutely we are not existent. Just on the books of India, some sort of law has been changed, and that is not there even today. That we can say yes, this is where we stand. These are human beings, and these humans have a life forward. So this is where it actually lacks, and this is where it actually requires that kind of embracing situation where the allies, once they understand, once they stand together, once they say, yes, there is a real help that is necessary, even if you show a bit of compassion grounds, if not, you don't want to take a photograph with us, doesn't matter. You don't want to touch, it's fine. Because I went to a company yesterday and I did find, strange. Some people were really looking at us aliens and they were not like very friendly also. They just wanted it for the heck of it. So this is what should be avoided. A real support, a real mechanism, real social cause, real change, if that can come, I think we have done something for the society, if not for these humans individually.
Well said. I think I'll take the last question with you all. What message would you like to give regards to acceptance and understanding of the trans? Keep it short, very short, and then we'll open up for the rest of them to ask any questions.
I can say please educate and become more aware. And this is all I can say, and I'm going to leave you and open for the questions after this. Thanks.
Also, you don't have to understand a person to give them the bare minimum respect. So there's no need to treat anyone differently if you don't understand something. Again, as she said, educate yourself. The internet is there.
Again, so I'll probably pause here and then see if anybody has any questions. Keep in mind there's a no filter coffee, so
You can ask any question that you want to. There's no barriers.
Yeah, in the meantime, I can go. So the inclusivity in,
Yes,
I think you have seen
Yes.
Germany, US and India, the societies where the inclusivity is more friendly. The which country?
I think the friendliest nation on the planet is in Sweden.
Okay.
They stand number one today. Israel, and then you go to the Latin America. They are also pretty large, and then comes your America, and then Germany, and then the discrimination do exist. Therefore, the categorization in terms of the ranking of these countries vary from place to place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Geographically.
Yeah. The awareness may be there, law may be there, including the Netherlands,
Right.
but the actual, practicality is missing because people are still not wanting to take it in a complete level.
Agree. It's mainly based on their environment also.
Because many of them, they misperceive that, this is for lust.
Yeah.
This is not a lust because for me, when I changed, I turned asexual, which is I don't have any interest, nothing. I'm in complete tranquility. Why should I be in a lustful situation where I try to do these kind of activities for something, which is crazy?
That's mainly the perceptions
Yes.
built by few.
Exactly. So this is very important that the society takes into awareness.
Yeah, as she was saying, people just assume that, you're doing it for external purposes, but no, it takes years of just introspection and fighting with who you really are. I came out when I was around 17. I've been out for about 5 years socially and like 2 years medically transitioning. But it's not based on, we don't have any sort of external or ulterior motives to things. It's more so us finding our personhood at different ages. That's pretty much it.
There's one question that has come online where somebody is asking, are there additional legal or systematic challenges you face as a transgender person that intersect with other aspects of your identity?
Frankly, no, because once the Indian regulations and laws have changed, and frankly, no, and you don't have to fear that you are going into that kind of entanglement. So the person is free. However, the Marriage Act is the only thing that haunts, and including the insurances and the partners and so on. So this is the only the problem. I think I'm sure the Supreme Court of India will work on it, and there will be some sort of a move coming in very soon. Because sooner or later, people like me, there are many people who are standing in front of the Supreme Court and trying to request, what should we do? So obviously there will be a outcome, sure, for sure. So there's no need to worry about it.
Folks, you could.
Questions related to that. I mean, Supreme Court is not the rule maker, as you know. Whatever rule, people are.
In our country, sir, unfortunately, the politicians don't come into the light and they want to hide behind because there are many people religious, there are many people in different entanglements. So therefore, they don't want to come and openly speak about it. Unfortunately, it goes to the doorstep of Supreme Court and it gets resolved. Either High Court or the Supreme Court, one of them are making decisions, including the Election Commission or what has to be done, what is not to be done. Unfortunately, in our country, that comes in. So this is the status where we are in.
Yeah. Agree on that, but do you see any perceived change, let's say, I mean, compared to the
I don't
other
think
time,
so, sir,
time
because-
politicians or political parties are supporting, or at least, sympathetic to the cause, I mean, if not coming to that.
See,
Changes
the party which wanted to support, that did not come into power. So that party is also supporting the Mohammedan law. In Mohammedan law, this is haram. The LGBT itself is haram. That means there is a death penalty for this LGBT community. That means moment you leave India, you go to Middle East, you will be killed. You go to Africa, you'll be killed. So these are the two dangerous places on this planet, entire Africa except South Africa. So when it comes to India, yes, we are accepting it, but people are still afraid because they have their vote banks. They've hidden vote banks, and people are saying that contradictory statements. I am supporting Mohammedan law as well as these people, and I identify this also as some existence. How is this possible? I think there should be some sort of a ground, and therefore the Supreme Court of India guidelines are very essential in our country, unfortunately.
So why do you need an MRI?
MRI is just in order to find out whether your brain pattern, let me explain to you, that the brain patterns are different. So male pattern and the female pattern. And then you also have the other patterns. So your hypothalamus and so on, you have medulla oblongata, and then you have so many middle region and all those. So these are very different. They are configured differently. They are not the same. So they behave differently. So this is an observation what the medical field does in order to assess, say that there is a difference. And therefore they suggest or recommend that please undergo this kind of diagnosis before you even get into this, because they want to see your mind and the body has coherence or non-coherence, and why is this coming in. So this is for a deeper study, a deeper understanding in terms of your genomics, or even in terms of any other factors. Why is this coming into the next level? So I have heard that one of the American trans women, she was also saying that why she got this or why she became a trans woman was later assessed because her mother consumed some sort of a drug when she was in her womb. This is crazy. I mean, this is like, too much of diagnosis, because she found that drug in her mother's prescription while she was in her, oh my God, give me a break. So this is how the medical science works.
Any questions from Noida? Anybody wants to ask, you can unmute and.
You talk about sexualization of gender identity. That becomes a problem in people interacting, judging, so unfortunately, the media representation, whatever we have out there, in a way is contributing to what we see. Let's say if you are watching a movie about it, it's mostly about romance. Something that's talking about your lust. So just to get a picture of, what are the flags that we should look, this is not that should be ideally perceived as something, that we should look out when we talk about gender identity. This is not how we look at it as a different way. So what other things that we've seen in media, common representation, that you think should be different, or we should look out?
See, I'll tell you, let's talk about a couple of movies. I think gives you a little bit of more better understanding. One, that Kalahona Ho, that guy, he comes in, that is the strange mechanism that one pastes in your brain. A gay behaves like this, which is wrong. If you go and watch Tali movie, Tali from Sushmita Sen, that is a different environment altogether. So you will see two different, one is the reality, the other one is stupidity. And which one do you take it? Is this what you see in the people who you meet everyday basis? Are they same? No, because you might have seen many people on the street, they are begging, and they have been taught to be like that. They have a pattern, they are a religion, they are a culture in India. They have to behave that way. They say, they have a very strange voice, they behave very differently. They don't come with their own, intuitionary reflexes. But whereas, what they have is something very different. So we cannot take what is partially reality, what is, what I mean to say, as shown in TV, as shown in movie. So let's say, all those categories. So what is an important topic that we perceive matters a lot.
Any other questions? Anybody? Anyone from Noida office? You can unmute and talk.
I think
If
his
there's any
point is
questions.
right. To change the perception of the society, print and TV media should be educated first.
So that is where I'm, let's say I'm starting that initiative. I'm trying to break through. I've engaged 40 Bollywood people. I'm doing a massive, massive campaign on the planet for the first time. It's called as Samay Ke Bharat Yatra, a 13,000 personal drive across India. So this is basically, connecting all major cities. I've engaged 40 Bollywood personalities so that the Bollywood changes forever. And that's very important. And also the local Bollywood, Tollywood, that wood, this wood, all woods are taken in. And the advertisement agency where my colleagues also come here. So we have 180 people working on this today to make it day in and day out happen. And then the iLight is another program where we want to bring the awareness to the society. And this is where we are standing today to create that kind of an impact, to tell all these people across the world, listen, we are not as shown in TV. Come into the reality.
Rajneesh, I see your hand up. You want to ask something?
Yeah, so just one question. So what I feel is like, so in order to make this like a normal thing, so that like this is not treated as a separate thing. So what do you think is the right way so that we can also educate, like, let's say, children about it? Because sometimes we also get asked, or they people also come across with, like, specifically children come across people, but like parents and other people are not telling them what they should know about it, right? So what is the right way to tell them about this from the beginning itself, so that it's normal for them when they grow up, and they are also able to like take it that way?
So it depends on what your definition of normal is. Typically, I see a lot of discrimination amongst adults more than I do children. Children do not care, honestly. If you are good to them, if you hang out with them, play with them, give them quality time, and show them that you are a human being, that's all they look at. It's typically the adults who indoctrinate the children and demonize us. So it's on the adults actually to figure out what they define as normal, to be very frank.
Just in order to add a little bit more, see, the school education is a very sensitive topic. In fact, many, the NGOs came and approached me for this. I would like to parents to handle this beginning phases, because this is where, they should not feel that, the other community or somebody is entering to change it and speak like Donald Trump, what he does in America. So we got to be very careful about all these topics. So therefore, the sensitization about the gender has to be done by the teachers, and it has to also engage itself in the textbook syllabus. The middle school today talks about XX, XY chromosome is so and so, whereas they don't speak about other chromosomes that do exist or possibly can change into many other various forms and existences. So therefore, we are very keen to request these wonderful teachers who are doing the first time sensitization to them with the kind of excitement that these kids, and they, with that kind of a curiosity, they continue to learn something more exciting and know that these genders do exist. And if at all they come out of the closet at that time, let them come out so that, they are safer. So this is one of the topic which I would like to share.
I think this was a really interesting conversation with both of you. Being extremely mindful of people's time and everything. Since you're here, you can always interact and ask. But everybody else, there's a QR code that we'll put on the WhatsApp group. So just scan and put your questions there. We will come back to you. But whoever's here locally can still continue to interact with them. They'll be here with us for some time. But just being mindful and respectful of everybody else's time. We said 1 hour, so we'll probably close this conversation here. So thank you so much for everyone for joining. And I hope this session was informative and helpful in many ways. And next week is our Pride Rendezvous. That's our end of the Pride Month celebration. So we would like to make it big in terms of engagement of people coming together and learning a thing or two more about how much we know about the LGBTQ community, so that we will come back to you with further communications. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and have a good day ahead. And like I said, any questions, please send it to us on the WhatsApp group, and we'll come back to you. We'll take it to Anita and Nikki and come back to you with responses. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Anita.
Sanjali, you said something, sorry.
So we just wanted to thank on behalf of everyone. So thank you so much, Anita, and thank you so much, Nick.
In case you guys want to connect on LinkedIn, very much Dr. Anita Prasad, ANITA, global name, Global Anita, so you can connect.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Nikki, I was just telling Nikki to make a LinkedIn profile. Nikki doesn't have a LinkedIn profile yet, but that's one of my things to do. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining.
Yeah. Thank you.